innocent people, kill innocent people, stab innocent people. Southport, what is we know about the stabbing after or attack on kids in the dance place? There's going to be a lot of shattered hearts of mums and dads over this video, and why do these people deserve to live in this kind of world that are so horrible and evil? I'm sure some of you guys and girls and ladies would agree. Things are never going to be the same again, because this 17-year-old boy thought it was acceptable to stab innocent people, innocent children in a dance place. Injured 9, killed 2. Disgusting. I'm going to play the video. It's going to be a bit horrific, but it can have to be done and said. Disgusting.
Now, a 17-year-old boy is in custody and will be questioned by police after a horrific knife attack near Liverpool, which left 2 children dead and 9 injured, 6 of them critically.
Absolutely
2
disgusting.
adults are also in a critical condition. The attack happened at a building housing a summer holiday club on Hart Street in Southport, where a children's dance
Southport,
and yoga
Liverpool,
class
this happened
was being
apparently.
held. The victims were taken to the Alderhay Children's Hospital.
R.I.P. to the children that have died, rest in peace.
Southport and Formey Hospital.
I didn't know them obviously, but so it's good to be respectful.
Reports, and be warned, there are distressing details in her report.
The scale of the emergency response tells us something about the awfulness of what happened here this morning. So too does where it happened, at a Taylor Swift-themed yoga class in the school summer holidays. And then there are the words of those who were here, who saw children with stab wounds, some running, some needing to be carried out onto this street.
I didn't actually see the guy do it, but virtually seen everything else. Everything, all the young girls lying on the floor, bleeding. It's like a nightmare. You want to just save them, do you know what I mean?
Colin Parry's garage is on the street where it happened. He told me he called 999, asking them to send as many police and paramedics as possible.
One of my business colleagues is phoning me, you need to get out here now. And I went out and he literally was carrying a young girl covered in blood. He's covered in blood, trying to look after her, keep her alive. And then some of the neighbours were bringing others out, but some had already got out with another girl. So I'm on the phone before I'd really seen all this for the police. You need to come now. You need to come now. Bring everybody. We want as many ambulances as you can get. I don't know how many girls were left in that building. He was still in there. And I thought, I'm just going to kill them all. You know, so it's like a nightmare. The biggest horrific thing you could ever witness in your life, seeing little kids like that.
Disgusting, isn't it? It really is disgusting. Why do people deserve to live in this world and doing things like that?
This afternoon, police confirmed those being treated for knife wounds do include children. Witnesses have said they counted 4 air ambulances arrive. The North West Ambulance Service said
sickening world
were
again.
Taken to 3 hospitals in the area, including Alderhay Children's Hospital in Liverpool, where a major incident was declared.
I know the whole House will be very concerned at the extremely serious incident that has taken place in Southport. All of our thoughts will be with the family and loved ones of those who are affected, and our thanks to the police and emergency services for their swift and courageous response.
Police have confirmed a 17-year-old male arrested over the attack remains in custody. They've said they are not treating the events of this morning as terror-related.
Why on earth did the 17-year-old boy decided to do these horrible acts?
Claire, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Jackie, this update from police, fire service.
We all get angry. We don't go around stabbing innocent people.
About 3 minutes ago, and during that update, we really had confirmation of.
No one's perfect in the world. We don't do horrible things like that.
Really, about what happened earlier today including that we've now been told that 2 children were killed during this attack earlier today. 2 children dead, we were told, by the Chief Constable of Merseyside Police. We were told that there are 6 children who are in a critical condition in hospital. That means that they suffered injuries which could still be life-threatening to them. They described this as being an utterly devastating scene that the emergency services arrived to earlier today, only about a mile or so from where I'm standing now. That's where you are, Jackie. They talked about this being utterly traumatic, and you know, I've seen emergency workers in this area today hugging each other, looking incredibly upset.
Of course it's going to upset people.
Through today. But bear in mind also the upset of those people who were calling 999, who were begging for help to come. Let's hear a bit of what was said in this press conference here just a few minutes ago.
It is with great sadness today I'm here to advise that 2 children have died as a result of the injuries sustained in this morning's knife attack. 9 other children have been injured, and 6 of them are in a critical condition. All those injured have suffered stab wounds sustained during the attack, and 2 adults are also in a critical condition after being injured during the incident.
2 adults as well.
A 17-year-old male from Banks in Lancashire, who is originally from Cardiff, has been arrested on suspicion of murder and attempted murder.
From Lancashire, Cardiff.
And is being taken to a police station where he will be interviewed by detectives. My officers were called to reports of a stabbing at 11:47 this morning and at a address in Southport. When they arrived, they were shocked to find that multiple people, many of whom were children, had been subjected to a ferocious attack and had suffered serious injuries. It is understood that the children were attending a Taylor Swift event at a dance school when the offender, armed with a knife, walked into the premises and started to attack inside the children. We believe that the adults who were injured were bravely trying to protect the children who were being attacked.
I mean, the details that we heard there are just hard to comprehend, aren't they? Police describing this as being a ferocious attack on children during the school summer
Thanks for liking the video.
At a Taylor Swift theme.
As you can tell, we're watching some sickening and horrifying things that's happened to these children. It's absolutely awful.
My understanding this evening is there are a number of police at a second address that's a couple of villages away from here. My understanding is that address is linked to that teenager, the 17-year-old, who police have in custody. But clearly, this is now a very active investigation. Police saying that the motivation for what happened is unclear to them at the moment, but they will be working over the coming days, weeks and months, I suspect, to try and piece together exactly what went on here today.
Claire, thanks very much. Well, our reporter Andrew Misra is outside Alderhay Children's Hospital.
Why do people do these disgusting, horrible things
today? Andrew.
Jackie, this place, Alderhay, has an excellent reputation for looking after children, but it can surely have not known many days quite as grim as this. As we've just been hearing, we now know that 2 children have died. We don't know how many injured
Rest in peace to those children that have died.
Were sent here, but we do know that at least one.
There'll be a lot of hearts shattered
here. Earlier, as for those 6 children,
they didn't deserve to die.
In critical condition.
That 17-year-old boy
we don't know for sure
with a knife doing that.
Could be here.
Disgusting.
We also don't know how many of those ambulances that attended the scene
Why did he do it?
In Southport came here. But for this to be one of the biggest and busiest children's hospitals in Europe, which it is, and for it to declare
families' lives are going to be damaged now
and say
because of this
that
guy.
its emergency department is extremely
never going to be the same.
Already gave us a sense of how tough.
I hope he gets life in prison for what he's done. It's disgusting.
Today, not to mention for the families of the children affected here, but we do now know the scale, or a better sense of the scale of this, that 2 children have died and
children that wanted to enjoy
the
Taylor Swift dance, which they should be able to enjoy, and now they got their hearts shattered because of this horrible man, monster, idiot, horrible person that's walking around with a knife. We all have bad days, but don't go around stabbing innocent people.
And we also know that 2 adults are in a critical condition tonight. We understand
2 adults as well.
trying to save some of those
No one's
children.
perfect, but we don't
Some
do
of those
silly
injured were
and
also
horrible
taken
acts
to
like
2
that.
other hospitals. They were Aintree University Hospital.
Those
and
children,
Southport
yeah?
and Formby Hospital. Both of
I don't know them. I'm being respectful because that's the way to be. Most people are respectful. They had the whole life ahead of them, and that's been cut short because of this 17-year-old boy carrying a knife. That doesn't make it right. Their mums and dads out there, brothers and sisters, going to be heartbroken, shattered that their family member's not coming home tonight just because of that 17-year-old boy's actions.
those closer to the scene than here in Alderhay, which for context is about 50 minutes drive from where you are at the scene in Southport. A very, very tough time here this evening.
Of course it's going to be a tough
Some
time.
small comfort perhaps for families that they are receiving the best possible care here at Alderhay Children's Hospital.
Keeps happening, doesn't it, these things? Do you remember the incident that happened in London when a boy had headphones on and he got stabbed to death, and people in the street tried to warn the boy in London about a guy with an axe? Do you remember that? And the boy couldn't hear anything, and then he lost his life because over his headphones he didn't hear what was going on, enjoying himself. It's always too late or not on time for police to help people and save people, or to do these crimes in the quiet that people don't know. It's disgusting.
Andrew, thanks very much. Well, joining me now is Emily Spurrell, who's the Merseyside Police and Crime Commissioner. Now, you've just come from that police briefing, Emily Spurrell. Absolutely devastating news this evening, isn't it?
It's hard to find the words for just what a shocking incident this is. Just how my heart goes out to the families and the friends and the community who are clearly going to be deeply, deeply impacted by what has happened today. I want to pay tribute and say thank you to the Blue Light services and the emergency services who responded incredibly quickly, and obviously to what was a very traumatic incident as well, and did their absolute best to deliver the best care possible. And obviously that work and that investigation is now ongoing.
I mean, it took quite some time for us to get to this point, lots of speculation during the day. Tell me what you first heard, when you first heard about this incident this morning.
I first became aware, I think like many others did, that something had happened up in Southport at lunchtime today. It's obviously been a very complicated situation. There's been lots of moving parts. The police moved very quickly to identify the offender, and he's now in custody. And obviously that investigation is ongoing with him. But there's been lots of information, lots of families, as I say, have been affected by this. So there's been an incredible amount of work going on to make sure they've been supported and the right kind of responses given to them, as well as the wider community.
Exactly, and what do you understand about how those families are being supported?
They're probably not dealing with it very well.
So the families who have lost a loved one will be supported by the Merseyside Police Family Liaison Officers. We also have our dedicated victim care team as well, who'll be supporting anybody who's been affected by today's incident. So that's Victim Care Merseyside, and they're available to help for anyone that needs that support. But there's going to be a lot of dedicated input and support going into those families to try and help them process and deal with what's happened today.
And of course, it's sort of a horrific, unprecedented incident today, and the impact will be far and wide, won't it? We heard terrible accounts from eyewitnesses who will also be traumatised, people within the community, school friends. This is extremely difficult for many, many people, isn't it?
This is definitely something that I think has sent shockwaves throughout the community. We know that community, they're close-knit, they know their neighbours, people don't think something like this can happen where it has, and thankfully these incidents are very rare, but obviously because of that, when they do happen, it is incredibly impactful. So I recognise that, there is going to be a strong feeling across the whole community here in Southport, but also we've seen how the community responding to that raising money, trying to provide support in whatever way they can to those who have been affected by it. And I think that work will continue as well as we follow on. And sadly, there's probably more details come out over the following days and weeks.
And in terms of the emergency services themselves, we heard in Claire's report, there were terribly traumatic scenes for those responders as well, and that will have an impact on them.
It absolutely will. Our emergency services just do an incredible job in really, really difficult circumstances, and sadly this is another one where they've had to walk, onto a scene with incredibly traumatic, incredibly traumatic scene. Obviously, from a Merseyside Police point of view, we'll make sure that support is put in place, as I know the other emergency services will. But I'm incredibly grateful for the work they do, walking towards these incidents, trying to keep people safe, trying to deliver that first aid to try and save lives. But I know it will have a huge impact on them as well.
And in terms of, you work obviously very closely with the police. What have they been telling you about their plans for the next few days, critical days in the investigation?
It's obviously very early days. They have said they don't believe they're looking for anybody else in connection with this. They're obviously starting that process of, interviewing the individual they do have in custody. They're not clear yet on what the motive is. I'm sure those are some of the things they will be looking to try and identify over the next few days and weeks. And until then, they're just trying to make sure they can figure out what happened, why it happened, and hope to try and get some justice for the families.
And just finally, briefly, your message to the wider community after today's events.
My heart goes out to the community. This was such a deeply upsetting, tragic incident. There is support available through our victim care service. If anybody wants to have that conversation with someone, there is support out there. But just my heart goes out to you, and just look after each other today.
Oh, that's really awful. Right, tonight.
Emily Sparrow, the Merseyside Police and Crime Commissioner, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Well, in the last few moments, the Prime Minister has been speaking about the attack. This is what he said.
The events today are just truly awful, and I know the whole country is deeply shocked at what they've seen and what they've heard. And I know I speak for everybody in the whole country in saying our thoughts and condolences with the victims, their families, their friends and the wider community. And it's almost impossible to imagine the grief that they're going through and the trauma that they're going through. I do want to thank the emergency services of Merseyside Police who've had to respond to the most difficult of circumstances today.
Well, joining me now is Peter Williams, the former Merseyside Police Inspector and now a Senior Lecturer in Policing at Liverpool John Moores University. Peter Williams, just give me your reaction, first of all, to what we've seen unfold here today.
Yes, good evening. Thank you. The same as everybody else, and the same as I think the Prime Minister's spoken for us all, hasn't he? Absolutely horrific, absolutely shocked. And as somebody who's policed Merseyside for quite a number of years, 30 as a police officer, and in other capacities as well, I can tell you that Southport isn't an area where it's probably the least likely where anybody will have been expecting this. But we've seen Merseyside Police as a group of professionals reach to the standard needed in order to provide a professional investigation. 2 years ago, of course, we had the tragic shooting of the 9-year-old Olivia Pratt-Cordell. And of course, whilst the initial horror and shock will be traumatic, or has been traumatic for the officers, they will respond to this and will be now conducting a very arduous, robust and professional investigation, which of course is exactly what is justified in order to, for the victims involved in this, the multiple victims involved in this incident.
And in terms of how the investigation goes, we know that one young 17-year-old has been arrested. What is the next move from your position in terms of for the police?
Well, the next move, I think in the press conference, the Chief Constable said that must stress we're at the early part of this investigation. And I know the public are always obviously with the public interest, the heightened public interest now, are watching every move and reading the updates or on social media. But I would urge against that, to do that and just listen to the official announcements. The early investigations which he's referring to at this stage will be exactly that. It will be the basics. It will be the basic police work, interviewing witnesses, conducting house-to-house inquiries in that area of Hart Street, examining CCTV and door phone footage, all those sorts of basic things, and in addition, of course, to gathering the forensic evidence, which sounds like it's going to be quite a considerable task, and I would imagine that will take several days. Like any other criminal investigation, it is pointless speaking to any suspected offender until you are in possession of the full facts, and that is what will happen here.
And we know in the terrible, awful moments after this incident was taking place that members of the community did step up to help, to try and look after the children that eyewitnesses said as they were coming out. The community also may be important sources of information, do you think, here?
Oh, very much so, because because it's an old fact. I mean, it's a Pelian principle. The police are the public, and the public are the police, and the police, and involved in this investigation, will rely heavily on information from the public, and it's gathering all that information that I was referring to earlier as much as possible. But it's also as well, it's the reassurance to the public that the police are here and they're doing a professional job. And to the wider community in Southport, I think we'll probably witness a lot of that in the coming weeks and months, because the critical incident has been decreed to be a critical incident, and that triggers the services of other agencies such as the local authority, obviously the NHS, and of course the local authority has access to a number of other services which I think the community in Southport are likely to be relying upon in the weeks ahead.
And just very briefly, Peter Williams, if you would, I know the investigation will be their main priority, but there's no doubt this will have been very traumatic for some of those first responders today.
Yes, absolutely it will, but it's to an extent. It's easy to say that that's their first. It's the sort of used to that. They're not. Nobody anticipates anything like this at all. But at the end of the day, the professionals, and they will hopefully. Well, I know they will. Got every confidence they will complete a professional job. What I would stress nowadays, far more than ever, there's far more support for police officers in the area of trauma than has ever been in place. So there are support services available to those officers as well.
Peter Williams, sorry to cut across you there, but thank you very much for talking to us. And we're joined here now by the Reverend Rachel Bray. I mean, a terrible, terrible day for so many families, for the wider community too.
Absolutely. I've lived here for over 25 years. It's a community I know and love. It feels like a safe community, and to have this happen is devastating. The community is just in complete shock tonight and grief.
And how has the day unfolded? What were people saying to you? What were you hearing?
Initially hearing through social media, and then just different people have been in touch as the day's gone on, trying to not respond to speculation, waiting to hear the facts of what's emerged that we've heard this evening. That's so shocking and devastating, really.
And how do you speak to people who will be desperately trying to make sense of something like this? What can you say?
Absolutely, there are often no words in a situation. It's about being with and being alongside people. Our church, St Philip and St Paul with Wesley, just 5 minutes from here, will be open this evening, be open over the next few days, as many of the churches in Southport will be. Spaces for people to come in, to be quiet. If they want to talk, they can talk. To cry, they can cry. Light a candle, just to try and begin to process this, because initially it's shock as well before the grief really hits.
And it's a relatively small community. It's not, people will know.
A lot of people know a lot of people here, absolutely. So the ramifications of it are enormous across our town.
I mean, how difficult have you found today?
Enormously difficult. I'm a mum, I have 3 children. I can't even begin to imagine what this is like for the families that are going through all they have been today. We want to be there for them. The churches will want to be there for each of these families in any way we can be, as they try to take this in, the horror of what's happened today.
And how important is supporting each other in this sort of unprecedented
Absolutely, that's
tragedy?
fundamental. This is a moment for community to step up, to be together, to quieten all of the stuff on social media, to come together, to be supportive and to be there to comfort one another and to walk the journey together.
I mean, the police have been quite clear that people shouldn't be responding to speculation
Absolutely.
online. They shouldn't be their own detective, as it were. You would back that
I
call?
completely back that call. It's unhelpful. What matters is that we're there for the families who are left devastated by this, and we come together as a community to support one another.
And how important the next few days in terms of all of that?
Hugely important. We will be there for people
Wow.
as and when we can be. And we will be in the days and weeks ahead. It's not just the initial thing, is it? If this has ramifications for a long, long time ahead.
There's something almost impossible to make sense of, isn't it?
Completely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
As you can see for yourself,
Thank you very
that
much
was
for
very
talking to us.
sickening. What's happened? And I hope nothing else happens like that again. And it probably will do. Rest in peace to the people that have died. Especially the children that got targeted for no reason at all by a crazy person. The man and woman that got injured in Liverpool, Southport. Anyway, I better go. Thank you for all joining me. Keep safe, keep positive. Take it easy, please. See you in the next one.